Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today to that somewhat different Vision Australia Newcastle Tech Friday or Tuesday, if you will, today. And I hope you all had a good Easter break, probably staying at home, just like myself as well. My name is Andreas. I'm the Access Technology Specialist based at the Vision Australia office in Newcastle, Hamilton. And I'm joined by two lovely co-hosts again today. First, we have David Woodbridge with us. He is Vision Australia's National Advisor on Access Technology. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
And we have also Ray Pearce join us as well. Ray is a Vision Australia volunteer with extensive professional experience in the technology field. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Andreas. How are we today?
Yeah, doing well. Thank you both for joining in. Ray will help us cover access technology from the perspective of a low vision user. Now, before we get started, I would just like to mention that Vision Australia continues to provide services to our clients, despite the difficult times right now. The basic message is Vision Australia is open for business. While our physical offices in Newcastle and Gosford are closed, and also across the nation, most of the offices are closed, or probably all of them are closed right now, we continue to provide services to you as much as possible. There's a lot of services that can be provided via telehealth and various other strategies that we apply. So I'd like to strongly encourage you to get in touch with us if you have any questions or service needs that need addressing. And the easiest way to get in touch with us is, so here in the Hunter and Central Coast, you can call our office number. That's 4927 3300. That's 4927 3300. And in all other regions, you can also call our national number, which is 1300 847466. That's 1300 847466. Also, throughout the talk today, we will be referring to further services and resources provided by Vision Australia and other sources as well, just like Australian government, for example. Okay, well, again, thank you, everybody, for joining in today. We have a good group of people joining us. This is a bit of a new format for us, running our tech sessions in Newcastle here. And because of that, I would love to hear your feedback. I would like to hear from you if there's anything you would like us to improve on. Also, please let me know if you would like us to continue with this format. And the best way to give us or me your feedback is by replying to the email that you received the invite for today, which is my direct email address. And I will also give you a moment to gather your device or keyboard of choice or pen and paper to write down that email address, because my email address is a bit of a tongue twister because it's my name, basically. And I will spell that out to you. So my email address is andreas.buchmüller@visionaustralia.org. And I spell that out. So that's ANDREAS dot B for Bob, UCH, for Mary, UEL, double LER @visionaustralia.org. There we go. It's a tongue twister even for me. The easiest way is to reply to the invite email, which is the same email address as well. Okay, now, so in the session today, we want to talk to you about all the things one would want to be able to do while having to stay at home for the obvious reasons. Our topics will include staying social while physically distancing, accessing online shopping and delivery services, how to stay informed and entertained, and staying fit while staying at home. Talking of staying at home, my cat just made a racket at the background, in case you've heard it. And my cat tends to walk across my desk as well occasionally. So if he does, I'll lift him up and introduce him to you. Okay. Now, I would also like to offer you to submit your questions live to us today. You can either do that via the Q&A and chat feature within the Zoom app, or email them directly to my email address, again, the one that I just tried to spell out to you. And I will raise then the questions for David, Ray, and myself to answer and to discuss for you. All right, let's get started with the first topic here. So staying social while physically distancing. And one point that we want to make here as well, it's something we talked about just briefly before the session. There's a service that most of us have access to. In fact, some 2.5 billion people every month use that service, but we don't associate it with video and audio calls necessarily. Isn't that right, David?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's funny when you talk about it, because I think what video do I use? And of course, we use it all the time. So quite a few of the things that I use, which I've actually been using, because I do actually work from remotely anyway. So to me, working from home is not that much difference before all this really bad stuff is happening. So the first thing I'd like to mention, because I do use it all the time, particularly with my children and my wife, is of course Messenger. And Messenger is from our dear friends at Facebook, and that allows you to communicate via audio or video to your Facebook friends in particular. And the nice thing about it is that it's cross-platform. So you can use it on your iPhone, your Android device, your Mac, your Windows, all over the place. And of course, using it on Mac or Windows tends to be the web version. And of course, using it on Android or your iOS device, iOS meaning iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch, tends to be an app. And it's really nice because you can, if you don't want to use the video bit, you can just send a straight message to people. So you can like something, or you can just do an emoji type stuff, thumbs up and so on. But it's just a really nice way of, again, keeping in contact with people. So over the weekend, for example, we had a catch up with some friends that live in Sydney, and we did it via Facebook Messenger. And that actually worked really well. Ray, have you actually used Messenger at all?
We used it yesterday, actually. I've got friends all over Australia. My other office up at Kempsey, where I go a lot up there. So we had people on in fields with cows yesterday, and a whole bunch of people up in Queensland. And we had Sunday. We had a Sunday afternoon drinks, effectively, where we all got on there. I think there was about 16 of us at the time. And we're all socialising as if we were sitting together in a club or a pub or something like that, and very easy to use, and a great way of communicating, as you said, with people. So
it was actually interesting because I think it was for Sunday Easter lunch. We had the iPad sitting in the middle of the table with Ellen's parents on it, who actually really only live one street away. But we had our whole dinner, our lunch, just sitting around the table talking as if we were just sitting around the real table. So it was actually quite strange. In actual fact, what they were able to do was like, oh, let me just go and pop off and get you something to show you that I got when we were overseas, a month or two ago, when we could do the same thing. So it actually worked out really well. And my sons, who've been drawing madly over the Easter break, they love doing charcoal drawing and so on. They were actually popping off and bringing back and showing their drawings to their grandparents. So that actually worked out really well.
That's great. And Ray, you mentioned there were 16 people joining you. That's great.
Yeah.
But it manages quite a big group of people as well.
Yeah, I'm actually going to see how. It gets quite busy on the screen, but I'd really like to actually see how many that you could actually put on before it starts to really break down. But we had a 16 or so, and we were trying to get it open. First of all, what we wanted to do for the people who remember the old Brady Bunch, we wanted to do a 9 thing where you had the kind of Brady Bunch, and I wanted to be Alice in the middle, but that's just me. So we tried to do that, and then it just got out of control. And before we knew it, everybody we knew was on, and it was just hysterical. You just have to be careful. It's kind of like the old CB days when someone's talking, everyone else has got to be kind of shut up. Everyone's trying to over-talk over each other a bit.
Yeah.
But at the end, we got everything we wanted to do done. It was quite funny. And some really hilarious moments. I wish I would have recorded it, actually.
Yeah, it's funny when it reminds me of doing my radio program, Talking Tech, because what happens to me is because there's going to be a slight delay of only about, I don't know, less than half a second, let's say a quarter of a second to half a second, you've actually got to be careful, because if somebody else wants to get your attention, you've already started talking again. So you get this person going, stop, stop, stop. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't think I was talking that much. But yeah, so it's one of those things that you just got to learn to be a little bit more patient. And like back in the old texting days, particularly if you're using audio only, sometimes people don't understand your sense of humor. So I'm always saying to people, look, when you're on video or audio in particular, it's like back in the old text chatting day. you might think what you've just said or texted is actually funny, but it's maybe not to other people. So I always say to people, just be a little bit careful about, how you go on with this sort of stuff, and be aware that your video camera, when it's on, is actually showing everything in your field of view for the camera. So that's another thing to also be aware of as well.
Yeah, especially for low vision people, it's always nice to know what you're actually displaying on your camera before you go live with it.
Exactly.
It's always best to do a preview or something like that. And
yep.
I think most of these news presenters actually said there were no pants on actually behind the desk myself. But
yeah, I think some of them just tend to wear the jacket and the tie on the top, and halfway you always hear stories about them just wearing a pair of shorts and thongs because they're just relaxing and the top part's professional. The other platform that I want to mention besides Zoom, which we'll talk about more in a minute, is FaceTime. And the nice thing about FaceTime is the fact that, well, number one, I guess you have to be an Apple user. So keep in mind, it doesn't only just work on the iPhone, the iPod Touch, and the iPad, but it also works on the Mac as well. So if you're a Mac user or an iOS user, you can use FaceTime. I find the setting up of the FaceTime group, so when you're talking to more than one, gets a little bit complicated. What I found on mine is I tend to set up a bit of a message chat first. So I go into the Messages app, and then I add a few people, add a few people that I want to talk to. And then what I can actually do then is add them as an audio chat to everybody. So that actually works really well. So, and then when they get a phone call, they just answer it in the normal way. And then you can, like you can do with Facebook Messenger, you can then just talk to everybody. So that's another way of doing it. Also with FaceTime, if you want to use Siri, remember you can say FaceTime audio David, so it's audio only. If you just say FaceTime audio, then it's video to David. So you can do it either way, and that also works really well. I haven't got the method to work yet, and I don't know if it's supported by Siri or not, but I've got a group in my Messenger at the moment called family. So it's just my whole family, including my extended family. Now, if I say to Siri, HEY Siri Core Family, which is the group name for those 7 people, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I know it works for texting though. I've done it for texting because
exactly.
I have all my kids on there because at Mother's Day I say, send it to all of them at once saying, remember to get your mother something or you're in big trouble.
That's right. Exactly. So that actually works really well. And FaceTime is pretty straightforward. It's all built in. With the Messenger app, you've got to download it and install it, or you've got to use it on the website. I just want to quickly jump back to something that I didn't mention to do with Messenger, though. The web version of Messenger, I find, is quite hard to navigate, whereas the app version, I guess because it's cut down a lot, is a lot easier to navigate. So if you want to get into Messenger, use the app version. Don't use the web version. Of course, I guess you have to if you're using a Mac or Windows device, but the app version is definitely easy to use. So far that's Messenger and FaceTime. Since we're on Zoom already, let's quickly talk about Zoom. My wife actually used Zoom yesterday to celebrate one of her friend's 40th birthday, and she compiled a video and she could screen share her screen, and they played all the different types of video messages from people right around Australia. So that was actually really good. There has been some security issues to do with Zoom, privacy, and what they call Zoom bombing, where people, as Ray said to me the other day, they just basically type in random numbers into the Zoom to join things, and that's how they bomb other people's devices or conversations. So what they've been saying is that you set up, you can set up with a password or do other things. Don't share your link, which doesn't really help if you're doing bombing. But look, overall, it's the most accessible hosting application and client application. So both people who are presenting like we are today, and for catching up with meetings. And the fact that, on my Mac here, I can just quite easily press Shift Command A to mute my mic, or Shift Command V to to blank my video, actually works really nicely. So again, I wouldn't be too discouraged by all the privacy stuff with Zoom. I've been using Zoom now for over 12 months, and I haven't had an issue. My wife's been using it constantly now for several weeks, even doing her scrapbooking stuff. So she's sending her scrapbooking card making kits to her customers, and then they join up via Zoom on the weekend, and she runs a 3-hour scrapbooking class, so that it also works really well. So don't be put off by Zoom. Ray, have you actually used Zoom before, or it's only been because you've started doing these types of things lately?
No, it's quite funny actually, because before all this stuff, most enterprises were using Zoom.
Okay.
It just seems to be all of a sudden now everyone's paranoid about Zoom bombing and stuff, because there's a number of these platforms. I mean, I think there's about 6 or so that, but trying them all. I mean, I still recommend the Messenger one for people who just want to use it, get it together as a group. It's quick to do.
Yep.
But if you're in an environment where you want to share your screen and do a lot more company stuff, definitely Zoom. Or there's another one called Whereby that I use with another company that I'm involved with, which is fairly similar. But again, the interface with Zoom is a lot much easier to use, and it's more accessible as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing I like about Zoom is the audio quality is really good. When I used to do my radio program with poor old Skype, remember Skype, everybody? Its audio quality, or the video stuff, kept sort of getting a bit worn after about 5 or 6 minutes. You'd start to get breakups, or people would sound like they're robots and so on. So
I always thought that was just Microsoft after about 7 minutes or so trying to get you off it.
It could have been. But it was appalling, particularly if you're only doing a 15-minute radio program. The producer would be going, stop. Can you just go back and repeat yourself for the last 1 minute, because Skype bombed out on you. So whereas Zoom, I think since we've been using it for the last 12 months, I think we may have only had about 1 or 2 issues. So that's been really good. So the web version of Zoom, when you're on a live session, sort of works okay, but it's fine for low vision people. I don't find it's very good for screen reader users. But the Zoom application on Android, iOS, Mac, and on Windows is actually very good. So, and you can also, with all these programs, you can also test your audio and video. So like Ray said before, particularly for low vision and using your video camera, make sure that one, it's working, and 2, that you don't have anything in your field of view of your camera that you don't want people to see. So that's also a very good thing to do. So that's Zoom. I'm not going to spend too much time on Skype, because we all know about Skype. It's still around. It's still usable. I wouldn't say it's the most lovely experience in the universe, but it's cross-platform. You can get it on most systems, or not of all of them. Doesn't work too bad, and particularly if you've got people that, like Ray said, you don't need it because you don't do company-based stuff, or you're not doing webinars like this one today, then Skype's certainly an alternative. But like Ray suggested, if you're doing personal stuff, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with just using straight Messenger. It works beautifully. So Ray, have we mainly covered all the social video type stuff for the moment?
I believe so. I think that there is a couple of small minor ones, and there's ones that are quite expensive that you can use from GoToMeeting and stuff like that, but they're quite expensive, and they're subscription models and stuff like that. But I think regardless of what platform or what application you're using, I highly recommend everyone, especially at the moment while we're all stuck at home, to actually just jump on one of these and actually catch up with people. I find it's really, really good.
Yeah.
It sparks your day. I really look forward to Sundays now when we all jump on and talk to each other. I mean, and I'm on these things couple of times a week on business meetings and things like that. But I really look forward to Sunday when all your mates get on and just rattle away. And it's just a great way of communicating, especially when everyone's stuck in their own little homes at the moment.
Oh, yeah. And look, you can just treat it like somebody's in your own house. I mean, this morning when we were setting up, I just wandered off and made a cup of coffee and wandered back again with the mic turned on. Ellen was asking me to get her, her drink while she was doing her 40th birthday party for a friend of hers, and snacks and so on. So you can just really turn it into as if that person or the people were actually in your own home. The only 2 that I know we didn't cover really, because one's fairly complicated and it's used for business, is Microsoft Teams. Unless you have to use it, I wouldn't, because it's not that straightforward. And Ray, have you tried that one called House Party? I think it's called.
Yes, I have. House Party, again, it's similar to a lot of these. The problem I have with House Party, though, it's a shocking UI. I mean, it pops up with you as your profile shot first, and then you have to move around trying to find where all the buttons are and to initiate calls. Normally with most of these platforms, you have your list first where you start and then you go. This thing jumps straight up from the very beginning, and it's very difficult to navigate around. I even tried it with VoiceOver on the phone, and I found it was really difficult.
Right.
The other annoying thing too, if you haven't changed the settings on it, which are defaulted by the way, as soon as someone in your contact book fires up House Party, you get this ding dong like that, and you're forever getting people talking to you at the time. And
oh, are you talking in the background? Are you?
Someone's chatting away. Well, one of my devices just letting me know something I probably don't really want to know about at the moment.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, a House Party. I don't recommend it. It's not very an intuitive UI.
Yep.
And with Microsoft Teams, my daughter's still going to TAFE at the moment, and a lot of the schools are using Teams, where they basically have everyone muted like we have today, and then the teacher goes through and does the lesson. So a lot of the TAFEs and things are using Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, it's
so
like
if you are doing a course or something like that, you may have to come across it at some stage.
Yeah, it's like my boys. They're using Google Classroom and Google Docs at their high school. So, and I put them both on both my Macs. It's actually quite funny. Finally, now there's sadly an epidemic on, I can now justify the 8 Macs I've got sitting in my house because everybody's got their own Mac now. So look, I had a plan for the future. And I know we're running out of time for this particular topic, but I just want to quickly mention several things. So we talked about audio, video. What we haven't mentioned is Facebook or Twitter. That's another way to either keep up information or friends and family. And I must say, as a person that's avoided Facebook now for, maybe 3 or 4 years, I must say the web version of it is absolutely fantastic, and so is the app now. So if you've been putting off Facebook a little bit, or you didn't want to use it because of privacy reasons and so on, you can still be very careful with it. But I've found now that it's a great way of keeping up with what friends and family and companies and organizations are doing, because you can just add or like people that you want to follow. And that works really well. And for screen reader users, because each topic is a heading level 5, because we're on the web, you can actually jump from heading 5 to heading 5, particularly on your particular screen reader, to jump to the same element, i.e. the same heading 5, and skip past all the comments, which is normally heading level 6. And it actually works really well. So Facebook's lovely on both Windows, Mac, Android, and iOS. Twitter's a little bit different, because Twitter's more sort of very short, 140, 280 character type stuff. I use Twitter a lot to do all my research for my radio program. So that's what I do with that particular one. And we didn't mention we didn't mention it in passing, I guess, iMessages for iOS users and good old texting. So, if you don't want to use all the fancy Facebook, Messenger, Zoom, Skype, House Party, et cetera, there's nothing wrong with just sending a person a text message, an SMS message, particularly if you're using an Android or a very basic feature phone. So you've also got text messaging as well. And I guess finally for this topic, don't forget the telephone.
I was going to say that there is one out there, and it's called the good old phone.
I know.
Strange, you can actually talk to people on it.
I know.
And communicate.
It's funny because I remember when I first did all those audio demos of the iPhone back in 2009, it wasn't until the 27th demo that I actually did a demo on making a phone call on the iPhone. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. It's a phone, and it takes me 27 episodes to do a basic function called let's talk to people, rather than using all the apps. So, yeah, so please remember the phone.
Another one we shouldn't forget, David, is WhatsApp too.
Oh, we forgot about WhatsApp. Dear me. You probably use it more than I do, Ray. Do you want to quickly mention WhatsApp?
I don't use WhatsApp because I'm an older person.
You're an older person.
I find WhatsApp and TikTok and all the other ones are usually my daughter's age and things like that. Sorry,
that shouldn't hold you back, Ray.
Well, being an older person, no, it shouldn't. No. Andreas, do
No,
you use WhatsApp?
I have enough social media coming through at 100 million miles an hour that it gets too noisy after a while. So you find that you're trying to get something done and you can't because you're just constantly bombarded by people. So
I don't use
but
WhatsApp.
I have used WhatsApp. I must admit I have used it, but I try to spend because I'm working a lot of the time. I'm usually on some of the major primary ones.
Yep.
I use Facebook basically to catch up with people, and it's usually what kids are doing and stuff like that. And it's great for people all around the world that I've known people of. But as David said, Twitter is probably the way for valuable information. But the rest of it's just good old surfing the web and a few other things like that. So.
WhatsApp is also a good one for communicating with people that don't have iPhones. So across all the different platforms, WhatsApp is available, and I think it's also available on Mac. Isn't that right, David? I'm not sure.
It is. I think on the Mac you've got to use the web version, which I think there might be an app, but I have a funny feeling it's just basically an app that goes to a web sort of interface anyway. So, but it doesn't work too badly. I must say though, I find might be a screen reader point of view. I find WhatsApp takes a little bit of getting used to about where you're going or who you talk to. We might have heard with the Australian Health Department in New South Wales and so on, they were saying that you could actually message a bot, so an automatic system where it would actually automatically give you information back depending on what the coronavirus was up to, and that actually worked out very well. But yeah, it's another solution. So, if all these different types of systems going on, there really is a wide range of things to access. This week, I was training somebody how to use one of our large print talking phones from Vision Australia's Vision Store. And it basically talks all its functions. So it talks out the keypad, talks out the menu, it talks out the caller ID and so on. And I'm a very bad person when I think something sounds very cool. I tend to go and buy it. So hopefully this week when it turns up, I'll probably be going to do a podcast on this large print telephone because I was sort of put off by the name a bit because it was called large print. I thought, it's for low vision people, not for me, like I'm a blind person. But it actually worked really well. So keep an eye on that on either Talking Tech or my upcoming one of my IC podcasts. So you reckon we've done enough on this topic?
I think so. Yes. So before we go to the next topic, there's one that sits in between, I think, and that is a service very similar to what we do today, provided by Vision Australia, called Check-in and Chat. And those are webinars run the same way as we are doing it today. And so there's a free webinar that you can join in, and it's a whole series. And Vision Australia is holding 2 webinars a week through the entire month of April. And the next one is coming up on Thursday this week, the 16th, at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The topic on Thursday will be about keeping your cool in close quarters. Other topics coming up include audio-described exercise videos, organizing your home, and many more. And throughout the sessions, you can chat with the panelists there as well. And so very similar to today. I'm still waiting for my first chat message here from you participants. There we go. Now, one great thing about those chat-in and chat webinars is you can also catch up on them on demand. So they're being recorded, and then you have access to them as well at a later time. You can join the next webinars or find the recordings if you go to our website, just the general website, visionaustralia.org, and you find the check-in and chat webinars on the first page, or you can go to visionaustralia.org/check-in and chat. And one of those webinars I can recommend you to catch up on, I think it was held 2 weeks ago, so 4th of April, I believe. The topic was called Staying Connected with Technology. And the 2 panelists were Caitlin McMorrow and Damien McMorrow. And those of you that are following David's radio show, Vision Australia Radio Talking Tech, have heard Damien's name and voice before. He was a guest at least once on your show, wasn't he, David?
He was, yes. Yeah.
And so Damien, because Damien is my supervisor, there was no pressure at all for me to mention his name. And but it's a very worthwhile webinar to catch up on as well.
Exactly.
And more to come. So stay stay tuned. All right, so next topic is on how to stay informed and entertained. And the informed bit is what we go into first.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, I mentioned first one resource from the government that you can all access, and that is from the Department of Health. They created a hotline that you can call if you have any concerns about the current situation with the pandemic happening, or if you have symptoms or other questions that you would answered by the Department of Health. You can call their hotline on 1-800-020-080. That is 1-800-020-080. Now, which other ways can people say get informed, David?
Well, actually, Andreas, while we're talking about that, did you want to also mention the Vision Australia hotline as well for the coronavirus information
Absolutely.
line?
That's right. Yeah, sure. Vision Australia also has a COVID-19 specific hotline to call if you have any questions around the current situation and Vision Australia services specific to the current situation. Vision Australia also has a hotline, and the number for that is 1300-887058. I repeat that, 1300-887058.
Yeah, there's actually a really good app. I mean, you can go to the main Australian Government Health website, or there is an app that you can also get called Coronavirus, and that actually is quite good because it has a symptom checker, it has statistics, it has education, it has media events information on it, and so on. So it actually works really well, and was interesting because after it came out initially, one of the updates I saw was on updates to make it work better with VoiceOver on the iPhone. So it looks like they're really making sure that the stuff they're producing is going to be accessible for blind or low vision people or VoiceOver users in particular. So I was really impressed that they decide to actually make that, put more work into VoiceOver. That's absolutely amazing. There's an interesting website. Now, I can sort of remember it off the top of my head, so I might get it wrong, but it's actually coronavirus stats. I think it's just cvstats.net or .com, I think it is, but we can share the link later on, or if you look at my Talking Tech Vision Australia page, which is talkingtech.podbean.com, the links on those show notes, I think, for about the first week in April. But what it is, it's a simple website that lists by country, by region, by people surviving, all that sort of type of stuff. And it's very accessible. The only thing I tend to remind people about is because it's got these lovely thing called expanded links that your screen reader calls them, you've actually got to expand them to get the information. Otherwise you won't access anything on the page. So that actually works really nicely as well. There's also a really good podcast, and it's inside the ABC Listen app. And the ABC Listen app, of course, is done by the ABC, our national broadcaster. It's on both Android and iOS. And of course, you can also get it on their website. But it's called the Coronacast, and it's my favorite health reporter / physician, Dr. Norman Swan. And he and what is she? She's a health reporter. They actually talk about the coronavirus every single day, Monday to Friday, giving information, dismissing myths. They had one interesting demo on last week when I was talking to Andreas about when we were getting ready for this webinar. And apparently MIT in the States broke down all the amino acids, the linking chains, the DNA and everything else in the coronavirus, assigned each one a tone, as in an audio tone, and produced music. And what they said was, besides the entertainment factor, they said that this could possibly be used as a way of pinpointing certain parameters in the virus itself, which may lead to further research. So they said there was a serious bit of science behind it, but it actually sounded, dare I say, quite pretty, of something that's so nasty. But it was quite interesting. So if you want to listen to that, I think it was on sort of one of the programs last week. So that actually worked out really well.
Wasn't rap music, was it?
No, it was. It reminded me of being in a spaceship flying through the universe, looking at all the stars and the stars giving their different tones as you went past them.
The 70s. I remember that.
That was it. So it was very spiritual. So if I mentioned three letters, which was something like LSD, it was a little bit like that. So, but isn't it amazing that I guess it's like some fish, they look so beautiful, but they're also deadly. So it was quite strange that something that sounded so beautiful and relaxing and calm could actually be so dangerous. So they're my go-to ones. I also follow the health department on Facebook. I also follow them on Twitter. And I've been noticing on Twitter that right at the top of my Twitter feed, there's always the first thing on my Twitter feed, my timeline is update to the coronavirus. So that's one I always check as well. And, here in New South Wales, the state premier is always having her update. I think it's at 8 a.m. Monday to Friday. She had one this morning, and that's also available as well. So there is lots of information.
Yeah. Mentioning the premier this morning, I've listened to that interview this morning, or the press statement, and there was mentioned that New South Wales Service app as well has a lot of information on COVID-19, and I went to on it this morning, and they also have a symptom checker and all the different departments you can contact and all the different resources and information on current lockdowns and all that. So the New South Wales Service app, or Service New South Wales app, is fantastic for that as well. And just another one here, we mentioned WhatsApp earlier, and the government went with the times here, I guess, and they created a channel, the COVID-19 channel from the Australian government, that you can all join, and you get up-to-date information, and you can also chat with that little bot, I guess, from the government. And if you want to join that channel, the number to join via WhatsApp is 0400 253 787.
Yep.
So that's again 0400 253 787.
The mic's back on.
Sorry, that was me turning my Google Chrome back on. Did you want to repeat that phone number again, Andrea? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. The number for the WhatsApp chat or channel, they call it, is 0400 253 787. And I repeat that again, 0400 253 787.
Yeah. Now, the reason why I turned my Google Home back on, because I want to show you a really cool thing that I did cover in my radio program. But it's a little jingle that you can play on your Google Home device to help you wash your hands, because one of the things about the coronavirus is trying to stay extremely hygienic. Now, I know you can sing Happy Birthday twice and other nursery rhymes if you really want to, but this is actually quite a fun one. So I thought I might play this.
Don't you have to pay royalties to Hallmark every time you say Happy Birthday?
Well, it's publicly available, so it should be fun. So here we go. Hey, Google, help me wash my hands.
Wash, wash, wash your hands for 40 seconds, please. Soap will chase the germs away so you don't cough and sneeze. Lather up your hands about a half a minute more. Get in between each finger, you can never be too sure. Clean, clean, clean your hands, and if you're getting bored, remember, friend, that in the end, good health is your reward. Scrub, scrub, scrub your hands, you're almost there, hooray. Soap and water, lather up at least 5 times a day. Rinse, rinse, rinse your hands, just 5 more seconds now. We're having fun, we're almost done, now let's get you a towel.
Now, isn't that cute?
I think there's a bit of row, row, row your boat in there.
It is a bit, isn't it? I know. I almost feel like saying row, row, row your boat, but yes, it was. I think it was based on that rhythm, I think. But yeah, it's actually a really great way. And funnily enough,
they pinch men at work for stealing Down Under.
Oh, did they? Oh,
yeah, well, they got fined for living in land down under because it's Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree.
Oh no, is it?
Yes, and so they had to pay a real lot of royalties to whoever owned Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree.
Oh no, yeah, but it is fun. And interestingly enough, my granddaughter, my daughter, my wife, and my children actually use that all the time now. So I hear this, HEY, blah blah blah, and it's like, oh hello, I know who's washing their hands again. So it actually does work really well.
Yeah, I think that the takeaway from all this too is that the media are really beating this up. It's all doom and gloom with what the media is talking about. It's all deaths, this, deaths, that, and everything like that. Now, this has the potential to be a dangerous virus, but there is always good news on that, and it doesn't get reported a lot. So that's why a lot of these apps are very more informative. Because if you listen to the news, everyone's dying every day, and it's doom and gloom. And generally listening to the news every day can put you down. At the end of the day, you think, oh my God, it's the end of the world and everything like that. But
well, it was interesting talking about the way that media is covering things, because my daughter is a nurse at Gosford Hospital. And when the media said, there was been deaths at, there was been deaths or people being infected at Central Coast hospitals, and then they said Gosford, where the infection took place was in the ward for the coronavirus. They didn't say that though on the media. They said, deaths or infections at Central Coast Gosford Hospital. And my daughter said, well, it was in the ward for respiratory, and that's when we're treating their coronavirus patients. So it's not like it just popped up. It was, it came about because that's exactly where they were treating them. So, yeah, so I like anything to do with news. Always treat it with a pinch of salt, particularly the very negative or sensational stuff, but absolutely rely on the information coming out of the government for the moment. I mean, the health department, they're very factual. The coronavirus app, Services New South Wales, the Vision Australia helpline, the Health Department helpline, they're not sensationalistic. They're straight factual information. If you've got any doubts, please ring those phone numbers. And again, the isolation is very important. Vision Australia also has tips on social isolation tips if you're at home, and also about how to go about site a guide or getting yourself around in the community safely. And if you haven't got your coronavirus information pack yet in your favourite format, whether it's electronic, braille, large print, etc., then you can ring that coronavirus helpline for Vision Australia, or you can ring up the main 1300 847 466 number. And that number again is 1300 847 466. And as I said, if you haven't got information pack, then ask our customer service people, can they make sure that you get your information pack? And that's got all the tips in it about services, using Vision Australia, accessing our services, and so on. So keep that in mind as well, that if you haven't got your information pack, then please ring up and find out about it.
Yes, because the internet, is a great resource for information, but you don't always believe everything you read on the internet or see on the news.
No,
definitely not. So a lot of interesting conspiracy theories getting around on the web too at the moment about how they started. We're not going to go into that today, but some of them are hysterical.
I know. They're a bit. They do get a bit overboard sometimes. So shall we get into on the exciting part of the information and entertainment and talk about some of the entertainment stuff?
Yes, let's do that. Go ahead.
This is my favourite one, dare I say. All right, so let me start some non-Apple stuff first, because people may not have noticed that I'm a very Apple-centric type person.
I never would have guessed that.
Particularly the fact that I'm actually wearing an Apple T-shirt. So a couple of the ones to remember about are things like our good old lovely Netflix, for example, which is, again, cross-platform. It has audio description for people that are blind or low vision. You can buy single user licenses or 2 or 4 or more. And in my house, for example, we've got the 4 or more licenses because everybody in my household is actually watching Netflix. And you can watch some good old favorite shows, current shows. It actually works really nicely. So Netflix, either on your Windows, your Mac, your iOS device, or your Android phone, works really well. The other really cool one is Amazon Prime. That also works extremely nicely across all platforms. And by the way, when I said iOS before, I didn't mention, I said iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch. Particularly now when we're talking about entertainment, Netflix and Amazon Prime also runs on a smart TV, and it also runs on the Apple TV, which is just a little box that you plug into your standard TV set via HDMI cable. So all those work really well. Depending on the version of your smart TV, and I know most of them that we tend to recommend from Vision Australia is the Samsung line, the apps sometimes sort of work with the speech. Large print's no problem, and they sort of don't. So if you go in and bring up the app for Amazon Prime or Netflix in your, and I just said Amazon and my speaker woke up, then it may or may not work reasonably well. So just give that a go as well. The one that I haven't played with, and I don't know if Andreas or Ray, you've done it, is Stan. So people have been telling me that there's audio description available in Stan, like there is in Amazon Prime, but I haven't actually used it. Have you two actually used Stan at all?
Nope. No
yeah, I
experience.
swap backwards and forwards. I mean, we've got, I don't think anyone's watching normal TV at the moment. We've got Netflix, we've got Stan, the Disney Channel for all the Marvel, so kids like that. I'd say at least 60% of the shows on Stan have got the audio description thing. Now, I've only recently started using it because my site's going worse than what it was, so I'm actually relying on it a bit now.
Yep.
And with the Netflix one, for example, I was just saying the other day to you, David, I don't know how it got switched on, but it always does. So it normally comes up big letter N flashing and all that stuff like that. But they're really, really good. I think if you can, for low vision perspective, if you can just see out the corner of your eye like I can, you can see a lot of the picture. But there are so many things you miss. Like, I don't know what it is with these shows, but they all seem to be, a person will be there and all of a sudden they're looking on their mobile phone or something like that. You miss half the story. Or they're reading a piece of paper or something, and you possibly can't see that without having to pause the thing and actually zoom in the screen to find out what's going on. The audio description actually gives you that, so you actually get a lot more of the show that you would regularly miss.
That's right. And look, what I've done to cover both bases, because I'm pretty sure with Netflix, I had to initially go into one particular TV series or movie and then turn on audio description under where it's got, other audio and subtitle button. And once I turned on audio description for that particular show, it seemed to do it for the rest of them. Just as a matter to catch everything, on my Apple TV, my Mac, my iPhone, my iPod Touch and my iPad, I've turned on audio description in settings, accessibility, and then audio description, because that way then if I go into Netflix, Amazon Prime, Stan, and I did it again, Disney Plus, the Apple TV, whatever I'm watching that supports audio description, it'll just come on automatically. And there's a really good tip that I think is overlooked, so I want to mention it here. If you are a person who loves subtitles or cannot hear the audio very well, then there's an option under the rotor, and this is particularly for voiceover users on your iPhone, iPod Touch or iPad, and it's called Media. So if you start playing a movie and you've turned on subtitles, under this Media option in your rotor, which you get to by doing a two-finger rotate, it'll actually say speech, speech and braille, or none. And if you do it to speech, every time a person talks on the screen, one of the characters, it will come up and speak the subtitle, or it'll come up, if you've chosen speech and braille, it'll also come up on your braille display every time a person talks. So if you're hard of hearing or you're deaf-blind and you want to access a movie or a TV show, then you can actually read the characters that are actually talking on the screen. So you might have a bit of hearing, so you can actually generally hear people and find it hard to actually listen to the TV. And this is another way of also doing that. And remember that most smart TVs have got an option where you can either plug in a set of headphones wired, or you can plug in a Bluetooth speaker, or you can also send the audio to wherever else you might want to send it to. So that's another option as well. Unfortunately, with audio description, though, it does mean that the whole family will get audio description whether they like it or not. People might remember, geez, I think it might be about 10 years ago, Ray, when we had that, the Hill set-top box and the Bush set-top box before that, where you could split off the audio description for the TV channel. That's long gone. But most of my family doesn't mind when I use audio description. And with all this accessibility stuff, you can always turn it on and off very easily.
By the way, the mic's off at the moment.
Oh, thank you.
To turn it back on, press the button on the back of Google Home.
That was my Google Home reminding me, apparently. I must have said something that sounded like Google, apparently.
Isn't she lovely?
Yeah, she's lovely to remind me about that. So look, there's lots of options for just straight video, straight audio entertainment. We shouldn't mention before we get to sidetrack that Vision Australia's got something called the Vision Australia Online Access Service, which is our Vision Australia library service where you can download or access talking books, Daisy books in either text format or audio, our over 200 newspapers from around Australia, magazines and podcasts. So that's also available on i-accessonline.visionaustralia.org. And of course, if you use the VA Connect app, the Vision Australia Connect app on your Android or iOS device, that works beautifully. You can access the website and download stuff by using the Mac or Windows, or you can also download the Daisy books, particularly in a zip file. So it's archived or compressed. You unzip it and you copy it to an SD card. So if you're using something like the Envoy Connect, which is a basic $75 Daisy player from the Vision Store, or like me, you've got one of my favorite gadgets of all time, and here's me holding it up in front of the camera, is the Victor Reader Stream. And this is one of the, I don't get too carried away by about blind and low vision products because I think they're a little bit overpriced. This one, at whatever it is, $500 and something or so, this will also access the Vision Australia library, which works really nicely. So once you've set it up on Wi-Fi and you've connected to the Vision Australia library through the online service, it works beautifully. So not only can you get access to our books, magazines, and newspapers, but you can also, with the Victor Reader Stream, listen to online radio stations. You can access reference stuff on Wikipedia. You can access other podcasts outside of what Vision Australia offers through via our radio program. And you can also get it to read text documents, play music, play audio books such as MP3 files, and also make notes. So it's one of those devices that does lots and lots of things. So that's why it's one of my favorite go-to devices. So it's the Victor Reader Stream, not to be confused with the Victor Trek, which is the GPS/Victor Reader Stream. This is purely the Victor Reader Stream. So if you're looking for a good entertainment option, don't go past this little guy. It actually works really, really nicely.
Do they run other formats like, say, Audible books and...
I think there's a workaround. The problem was, I think Audible changed its interface at some stage, and it broke it on the Victor Reader Stream. So, if you want to double check it, I would contact Humanware or give our AT help desk a ring, which is the 1300-847-466 number, and just say to them, has it changed? Does Audible support books again on the Victor Reader Stream? Because speaking about TV series and movies, there's lots of ways that you can, as we just mentioned, you can access books. So we've mentioned the library. I'm sadly about to hit 695 books on my audible.com account.
Wow.
I don't want to actually work out how much money I spent over the last decade buying audio.
Oh, yeah. But it's well worth it, though.
Okay.
Well worth it. I mean, the books that come out of Audible are fantastic. The narration on them is absolutely brilliant.
They're beautiful. And one thing that me as a blind person, I know other blind people like, is the fact that you can speed up the voice.
Yes. Andreas and I were talking about this before we came on the air about that, like, because when you were getting a cup of coffee, your machine was going. Okay, okay, that can't be mine. That must be David's because it was so fast. I couldn't really get it. I tend to listen to it at normal speed when I listen to the audiobooks.
Right.
I think especially if the narrator of the book is actually a person who wrote it, like I just sat through with John Cleese book and an Eric Idle book from Monty Python, etc. And there's a really, really funny one from Brian Johnson from AC/DC who talks about all these cars racing and stuff like that. And he is a very, very funny guy. And
that's right.
Just brilliant books.
Exactly. And the nice thing about Audible too is you can pre-play or sample the what the narrator sounds like. And it's really weird because with all my favorite narrators, there's only about one or two that I can actually put up with their voice at normal speed. But the rest of them, I can only listen to them at 1.75 times speed. I can't stand them listening because they, when they speak, like I've got a series I'm reading at the moment, and he's very dramatic when he's speaking at normal speed, but when he's speaking at 1.75 times speed, he almost sounds like he's a commando, ready to go,
okay.
get stuck into the enemy, that type of stuff. Whereas it's like, and the company positioned themselves in the Western Quadrant. It's like, yeah, that sounds so boring at normal speed. So
Yeah, that does. Yeah.
it does. So that's Audible, and there is an Australian account, audible.com.au. If you happen to own an Amazon Echo, of course, you can listen and play your audio.com books or .au books through your Amazon Echo. And if you're also an Amazon user, remember you've also got the Kindle books as well. So Kindle books are the electronic books from Amazon, and you can listen to them through electronic speech, of course, using your Kindle app on Android, on iOS device. If you happen to be using the accessible Kindle app on your Windows computer, you can also read books on that. Unfortunately, the Kindle version of the app on Mac doesn't work. And of course, if you've got a Kindle Fire tablet or another Kindle Paperwhite and that sort of stuff, you can also access your books on that. And just keep in mind too that what happens, I've noticed a lot lately over the last 12 to 18 months, if you go to your audible.com book and it might say, oh, well, it's $14 for your membership. However, if you buy the Kindle book for $3, then you can get the audio version for $2.
Oh, that's
So you
nice.
actually end up saving money. Yeah, so that actually works really, really nicely. So if you get that offer, do that, because normally it's half the price of the overall audio book anyway. And that's how I've been doing my books. And because you've got huge series type stuff on Amazon, whether it's Audible or Kindle, that also works really well as well. I'm just trying to think, Andreas, have we missed any other entertainment sources at the moment?
Well, there's a few other things around the accessible radio that we wanted to talk about. But before we move on, just when you mentioned about saving some money on audiobooks, I usually recommend to sign up for the Vision Australia Library first, particularly if you're new to audiobooks. It's a free access for you as a client as well. So I would go towards the Vision Australia Library first before you subscribe to a service. I tend to be the one reading out phone numbers today, but there's also the library.
Just going to switch over to Andreas for another ad.
That's it.
Right. And sponsored by Vision Australia Library today. And you can contact the library on 1300 654 656. So the library number again is 1300 654 656. You can also email them to library@visionaustralia.org.
Yeah, no, it is good. I mean, I suppose I've been using for these types of things for like 10 years or more. But you're quite right. I mean, the nice thing that I think about the new app, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that the new Vision Australia app, you can also listen to a bit of a sample of the book as well. I might be wrong about that. But anyway, you can always download it, open it up on your Windows and just, play it for your Windows Media Player or something else. The Vision Australia Library also has recommendations, because if you're on your Android or iOS device, you do need a Daisy player. So things like the voice reader app, which you can get on both Android and iOS, works beautifully with reading our Daisy books. If you're on Mac and Windows, there's a fairly expensive program called Read Here, and that's here as in HEAR. And that works well as well. And there's quite a few freeware ones that you can get on Windows. So again, when you go into that library, go into the library website, so i-accessonline.visionaustralia.org, or just the main library website, which you can get to through the main Vision Australia webpage, where Andreas mentioned the fact that you can get to the check-in and chat link. The library's on also as well, and that has lots of links to different resources for reading Daisy books as well. And Andreas did mention the accessible radio, which I just happen to have in my hand here. So this is it. It's pretty well straightforward to use. You've got an on button at the top. You've got function buttons below that for AM, FM, your menu, time and date, and then below that you've got presets from 1 to 5 or A to E, depending on how you read the Braille. So if I just turn it on via the on button.
Powered on, FM band, 100% battery level. FM 92.5.
Okay, so that's 92.5. If I press, let's try A.
Recall the preset 1 FM 98.1.
Oh, I must have disturbed that one.
Recall the
B.
preset 2 FM 101.3.
Perspective and help slow the spread. Visit beyondblue.org.au.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. There's an ad.
I know.
FM 104.5.
It's from my house. What are you doing? Shh, Mummy's working. So now that your home is your office, it might be time to get those things done around the home that you've been putting off, like installing those indoor blinds.
Oh, yeah, no, we don't. No, thank you. No blind installations.
FM 107.
And my favourite Gosford station,
Went onto an app.
Triple M Gosford.
For the 2 weeks prior.
Oh,
It hasn't that
right.
changed.
Geez,
100%
everything's, I know,
battery
Triple
level.
M now. Everything's about coronavirus at the moment. So this sort of radio is quite expensive. It's fairly expensive. It's about $330, which I know is expensive. I got it when we had all those bushfires and blackouts going on back in December and January this year. And it's nice because when you turn the tuner dial, it actually reads out the frequencies. So if somebody says, you know, if you're in Newcastle, you need to tune into, I think it's 1279, I believe it's a frequency, and so on. So you can actually do that with this radio. It's got stereo speakers. It's got mono to make the sound a bit easier to listen to. You can plug in headphones. You can run it on batteries. So it really is a good accessible radio. It's quite sturdy. And the sound outside of it works quite well. So if you want to turn it up a bit loud, particularly when you listen to music, it actually works quite well. So on the Vision Australia store webpage, if you go to shop.visionaustralia.org and stick in accessible radio, it'll come up with this. If you want to know the exact model number, it's the Singean PRD-17 model, which is why we just call it the accessible radio. But
Yeah.
it's
Good old-fashioned tranny.
It's a tranny.
Yes.
I know. I remember my first little tranny. I had a little thumb wheel on it for the little speaker down the bottom. It came in a leather pouch that you could put on your belt.
Yep.
And I think I was about 8. So that was like 46 years ago. But I just wish I had my tranny back. Because like sometimes we get so caught up in all this electronic stuff that sometimes... Oh. What's going butt at me? Did you guys hear that strange voice?
It was
Yes.
off, but yeah, could hear it.
Oh, that was bizarre. I don't know what was causing that. But yeah, so that came in. So this comes in very handy. So have a look at, remember your telephone, remember text messaging, and remember that you've got radios to also listen to as well, not just all the electronic stuff. Right.
There's a plethora of entertainment out there. I'm actually, what are we're in like 4 weeks already into this at the moment, and maybe 5. And I've still got tons and tons of stuff to keep me occupied at the moment. I do miss going out and having a bit of a wander, so I still get around with my cane and the social aspect of it. But there's tons of entertainment out there and lots of platforms to watch it on. So I think we're very fortunate. I'd hate to have this happen, say, 20 or 30 years ago. We'd be pulling our hair out, you know. So
absolutely. Yeah, we'd have to talk. We'd have to talk to each other.
Oh yeah. Imagine your phone bill back then, though. My God.
It's really funny at night time because my wife and I are sitting on the lounge with our laptop or our iPads or smartphones. The boys are sitting in their chairs on their smartphone or their Mac, and we're not talking to each other. We're talking to everybody else outside the house.
Oh, I know. My daughter texted me sitting next to me the other night. I said, "You're kidding?" But I think it's gone too mad.
Yeah.
Now, just with the radio, you can also use your Google Home speaker or your HomePods or just Siri on your phone as well. You can just ask for the radio station you want to hear, and it should usually come up.
Yeah, and I didn't mention this before, but if you've got an iPhone and you're on the same iCloud account, Apple ID, and network as your HomePod, if you use a HomePod, you can actually use the HomePod to answer incoming calls or make outgoing phone calls. If you use a Telstra mobile phone, you can link that account up to your Google Home, and you can say to Google, call so-and-so or call number, and that will actually use the Google Home to make an outgoing phone call. But with the HomePod, you can actually make and receive phone calls. And with the Amazon Echo itself, you can actually call other people that have also got an Amazon Echo, and you can also drop in on people as well, which is a similar type of thing. So, for example, I've got an Amazon Echo in our bathroom. So if my sons, who are teenagers, have been in the shower for 25 minutes, I can drop in the bathroom and go, Lachlan, it's been 25 minutes. Would you mind getting out of the shower? And that also works well. But Amazon Echo is really great, particularly if you've got somebody in a nursing home. You can set up their Amazon Echo. So you can just say to the Echo, drop into Auntie Anne's, and it will drop into, if they've got it turned on, which you've set up for them, and you can talk to them like you normally do on a normal phone call. If you've got a smart speaker like an Amazon Echo Show that's got a screen, you can also look at the person, and they can look at you as well because it's got a video camera in it. So that also works really nicely as well. So again,
actually, that's a great idea, considering a lot of us can't get to see a lot of elderly relatives at the moment in nursing homes. They're keeping a lot of people away from those. So that's a great way of actually communicating or making them feel that there's somebody out there.
That's right. And the other thing I didn't mention, when I was mentioning the large print phone, remember you can also get the Olitech basic large print phone from Vision Australia store as well. So that's $190, I think, flip phone. That also does text messaging, contacts, and that's another way to also keep in contact. So if somebody doesn't want to get into using a smart speaker or an iPhone or an Android phone or whatever else, you can just give them this little flip phone that's also in large print. And at least you can actually text message them and just say, hi, how's it going? Or just, give us a call if you need us and that sort of stuff as well. So that's also available as well.
Very
Cool.
good. I think we're ready for the next topic. And the next topic is on online shopping and delivery services. And in a way, I'm throwing you a curveball here, David. You mentioned the accessible radio, and that's available through the Vision Australia shop as well. And so I'll let you talk about the Vision shop.
Yep, absolutely. So the shop, which the web address again is shop.visionaustralia.org. You can log into that and you can actually search for every product. But the other really interesting thing is, particularly for screen reader users, at the top of the page, right below where it says coronavirus info, there's also a button that says web chat. And if you click or tap or whatever else you want to do on that button, it'll bring up a web chat, which is going to ask for your name and your email address if you want to put it in there. And then you can chat to anybody in the Vision store if you've got a question about a particular product. So let's say, for example, you're interested in that large print button phone or the Olitech phone or the accessible radio or anything else that we sell through the Vision store. You can literally chat to the person via the web page. And when they send you back a message, I noticed, at least on my Mac and my Windows computer, it makes a ding noise, so you can go back and read the chat message window. And you can have a conversation. If you are interested in buying something, then they will actually be able to organise to purchase it online for you. At the moment, we've waived our returns policy it's actually up to 90 days now rather than 30 days. So that actually works really nicely. So keep that in mind as well. And we also accept Apple Pay, which is probably no big deal now because you can't actually go into a Vision Australia office, but you can also use Apple Pay online, your credit card and that sort of stuff. So keep that in mind that all the Vision store stuff is still operating. It's all online there. You can search for lots of stuff. I just bought, and it was really funny, I did this really cool demo the other day. I don't know why I got so excited about it, but I didn't realize there was such a thing as a proper jar opener where you put this little gadget on top of a jar. You rotate this handle, which sort of puts these little drawers around the edges of the actual lid or bottle cap. And then you turn the handle, and good old, lefty loosey, righty tighty type rhyme, and you can undo jars. So my wife's, she's got a physical motor impairment where her hamstring's quite low, and now she can actually undo jars and bottles. So again, it's not just all the high-tech stuff, it's also the low vision tech stuff as well. But talking about other online shopping stuff, both my wife and I, we use quite a lot all the time Coles and Woolworths. Now, we tend to use the web versions of those websites, but the apps on iOS or Android are also fully accessible. Like me, if you're an NDIS applicant or participant, then you may have got an email that said, if you put in this special code when you go to a shopping site, then you'll get more high priority. I personally haven't noticed that make any difference. That might be just because I'm here on the Central Coast in Gosford. So you might have some experience differently. What my wife and I have decided to do is, in the old days before the coronavirus, you could say, do your shopping list on Saturday, and then you can book in your delivery to come on Monday morning. Or because everybody's getting home deliveries these days, what we've been finding is we now do our shopping a week in advance. So we've already done our shopping from last week. We did it on Thursday. So we've now booked in our shopping to arrive next Thursday. So just keep in mind with the priority stuff, it may happen or it may not. But I would advise everybody, if you use Coles online, Woolworths online, or any other home delivery type stuff, just be in mind that you might need to wait a few extra days. And also, Ray, I think you mentioned the other day that quite a few of the restaurants near you, because people can't go in and eat, quite a few places have also been doing home delivery now.
Yeah, even up at Central Coast, we are up at Wyong. A couple of the pubs that usually do bistros and stuff are actually doing takeaway and delivery. So actually, instead of going into the bottle department, when you drive through in the car, you can actually go through and get your snitty and chips and things like that. So I definitely recommend everyone to have a look around their local area and keep some of these local businesses going as well. And there's plenty of Spy out there, or there's Menu Log and programs like that. I haven't found much luck with Menu Log. It seems to work okay, but all I can basically get is KFC, which is good at some points and not in the other. But so it wasn't a very variety. But again, that might be just where we are on the backwards here on the Central Coast. So,
Andreas, have you found with your stuff?
Yeah, with the delivery apps, certain restaurants work with just one delivery service. So you basically need to shop around the apps themselves. So there's Menulog, like Ray mentioned, there's Uber Eats, and there's Deliveroo. Those are the three main ones that I know of. And certain restaurants only work with one provider and not the other sometimes. So if you're looking for a specific restaurant, you might need to hunt through those apps, go through those apps and try to find them. But just like Ray mentioned, just call up your local restaurant. Particularly if it's not a chain, they might not even be on those apps as well, but they might be offering deliveries now, or at least takeaways. And that's a good way to go about it. So like the local shop here just down the road, a Thai restaurant, which is fantastic. They do deliveries now too, so they had to adjust as well, just like anyone else. And I agree, Ray. Supporting your local business that way is a great way to do that. Just give your local shop a call and see what they say, I guess.
Yeah, because we normally used to go out on Thursday nights to the local pub there, because they at Wyong, and they've got Gennaro's restaurant there. They do Italian food, and so we were really missing that. And then we rang them the other day and they said, "Yeah, sure, just drive through and we'll get you some ready." And they had it all ready, and it was great. So the environment was different because we were having it at home, but hey, that was still our Thursday night Italian. Beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, that's what we did the other night. We were sitting there going, I thought, because I'm the main cook in my household, and I thought, oh, geez, do I really have to cook tonight? Because normally we go out and actually eat out at least one day a week. And we just rang up the local Thai place and they went, yep, if you're local, it's free delivery. So we had it in, I think it was like in 30 minutes, which was actually really, really nice. So that was lovely. And they also brought out their own menu. So again, sometimes if you check all those brochures that we normally throw out in your post box, keep in mind that you might want to start checking them with your video magnifier, or with me with my app, my Seeing AI app on my iPhone, or what app you might use on Android. Actually, Ray, what app do you use for OCR on Android these days?
I've actually just bumped back off that. I've gone back to Seeing AI. You can't do it.
Okay.
I mean, I've even got a Siri shortcut. I actually say, "What does that say?" And it automatically fires up Seeing AI and gives me to the right channel. So I'm reading it from that way. Yeah. I tried a number of the ones on the Android one, but I've always gone back to Seeing AI, and I hope that Microsoft bring this out on Android soon, because it is, if anyone hasn't used it before, Seeing AI, fantastic app. I mean, everyone that's normally goes to the Tech Fridays up at Newcastle would know about this app anyway, because we constantly rave about it.
Yeah, I think the one that I know about on Android, which is in beta, which because it's on the iPhone already, is actually Voice Dream Scanner. So from the same folks that produced the Voice Dream Reader, he's also produced the Voice Dream, or just the Voice Scanner for Android as well. I think it's $5, but it's certainly money worth spent. The other thing I was going to warn you guys about too was that, and this happened to me on the weekend, because Australia Post doesn't currently seem to require a signature at the moment, they just take a photo of the item they've delivered. I had a 7,500 piece of equipment, which was actually the Allcam that I've just got, sitting on top of my post box in my garden bed. Because I've got a very nice, sort of lovely big post box, so you can put things on top of it if you want to. But this Allcam was in its box, quite nicely wrapped up in bright pink, purple wrapping paper, and it was sitting on top of my post box overnight from Saturday. My wife only saw it when she glanced out the window on Sunday morning. So it seems that some delivery drivers are a little bit over enthusiastic by following the social isolation rules. There was no reason why that delivery person from Australia Post couldn't have dropped it at my front door rather than leaving it on top of the post box at the front of the property. So if you've got very expensive stuff coming in the post or from delivery services, just be a little bit more mindful. Try to keep track of things when they might be turning up. Check your spots where things might be dropped off, because like I just discovered, that they may not always drop them off at your front door, and you don't want very expensive items going missing either.
Yeah, I had a similar thing the other week where I'm waiting for this hard drive to turn up, and I went online to check the tracking of it, and it said it had been delivered, and I thought, oh my God. Then I went down into the mailbox, and there it was in the mailbox with all the other junk mail. Yeah. And I've gone, oh wow, that was, where normally my mailman in particular would actually come up and knock up on the door, because I used to be a neighbour of mine, and he'd say, "Here, Ray, I got something for you." But they're reluctant to do that anymore. But I agree with you. Definitely keep an eye out. I think everyone who is at home anyway normally knows when the mail guy goes past. I certainly do, because all my dogs go mad.
Yep.
So I know there's someone pulling out the front. So yeah, it's a good piece of advice.
To keep track of your deliveries is to use the Australia Post app. You can sign up for an Australia Post account, and if you have a delivery number, you can type that in, and then you get notifications if it's about to get delivered. And if it was delivered, you get a notification as well. It says your item was delivered as well.
Yeah,
that's right. And I've noticed what the Woolworths people do now is that normally they get you to sign on their smartphone when they deliver it. What they do now is they simply put all the shopping in their bags at your front door. They take a picture of it, and then off they go again. So that doesn't work too badly at all. So and then you take the bags in. And I notice with Woolworths at the moment, they're not receiving. They don't want the plastic bags back, so you can wash them down and keep them, or you can just put them in your bin to get rid of them. But the Woolworths guys certainly be very good at the moment. What I do with my delivery in particular, I always leave my screen door open, because I hate those people that when they deliver stuff to your front door, they put it right in front of the part where your door opens, so you actually can't physically open your screen door, so you've got to walk around your whole house. So if I know a delivery is coming like Woolworths, I always prop open my screen door, of course with my main door locked for security, and then it's no big deal. So on Thursday morning, they normally SMS you when the delivery is coming. So about an hour beforehand, I always pop outside, put my little gnome out, who holds up open my screen door for me, and he's sitting there guarding the front door until the delivery man person comes, and then it's all good. So just those little things can just make this whole process a little bit more easier, rather than having to go through all the nonsense that we used to go through before.
David,
so Andros, you were talking about your cat before. I don't know if you could hear my bird in the background screaming because I'm ignoring it.
That's what that was.
So it's going out. What you doing? Where are you? No. Just keep going. It knows
David,
I'm sitting
David,
here.
I was just waiting for you to mention your garden gnomes. You were just,
I got to mention my garden gnomes. Exactly. Don't get me started on my garden gnomes. We might be here all day. I actually got a new one the other day, actually. It's my seeing eye dog, guide dog, whose name's Louisa. You know how dogs always tend to stretch? They sort of like put their paws down and they stick their bum up in the air. Well, I got a little garden statue that does exactly the same things, and it's a Labrador. So now got Louisa as a statue, as I say, in the garden, right
I'm
next
getting jealous.
Yeah, it's right next to the Frog Prince. So
I thought we weren't going to waffle. We're going to stay on target today.
Was Darius's fault? And Darius, why I keep calling you Darius at the moment, Andreas? This is terrible. What's that? I've got Andreas at the moment. I now got to say I've gone down the other way now. But yeah, don't get me started on my garden. I love my garden. That's okay. Have we covered everything in information and entertainment, or?
One point we skipped past was audio-based games.
Oh, how can we forget about games?
Have time to mention that.
Indeed. So, and I'll just start with some of the best sources to go to find audio games. So for the web, if you're an iOS user or a Mac user, so that's iPhone, iPod Touch, iPad, Mac, and maybe if you're lucky, some Apple TV ones as well. If you go to appleviz.com, so that's APPLE as in Apple, Viz as in visual.com, they've got lots of apps and podcasts and discussions and forums on all different types of games that you can play. One of the really cool games that I used to love wasting time on was called Fear, F-E-E-R, the Endless Runner game. And that's where you have to escape from zombies, things crawling out of the ground, wisps and so on. So that's, I think it was either a paid or a free, I can't remember now, but that's just a fun one to waste time on. There's also a cross-platform game. So it'll run on Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, and it's called RS Games. And it's one of those platforms where it's online. So it has things like online Monopoly, Blackjack, and all sorts of other games. I think there's about 15 altogether. But the really cool thing about them, if you've got other blind or low vision friends or even sighted friends that want to play online, you can actually join in together and play on multiple games, or just play with one person, or even play against the computer called the bot. And that works really well. So on the weekend, while I said we were having dinner with my parents, my wife's parents, we usually play sometimes. So I got them all to log into RS Games on their devices. And we actually played virtually via the internet. So my wife was on her iPad, I was on my iPhone, my parents-in-law were on their individual iPads, and we actually played and my boys were on their Macs, and they were also playing as well. So that was another way. So that's called RS Games, and I'm pretty sure the website is rs-games.com. But if you just stick in the Google RS Games, you'll actually find it. So it's a really good resource. There's a great other web page called audiogames.net. And that tends to list lots and lots of PC games. So when I say PC, I mean Windows computer games. It's quite a good one. I think last time I checked, it had about 480 games listed, both freeware, shareware, and paid. It's quite a good resource page as well. For Android, and I think this is the right website, if you go to inclusiveandroid.com, it's a website that also includes not only apps that they talk about like Apple Viz, but they also talk about lots of audio games as well. And I mentioned Fear already. I think, I'm not 100% sure if that's available on Android. The RS game certainly is. But there's a really good set of games for Android I had to play with. It's called just Audio Game. And like the RS games, it's got quite a few games built into it. So it's got archery, where you've got to actually wait for the tone to come in the middle of the speaker and shoot the arrow from your bow, and a few other ones in it as well. So it actually works quite well. And there's also this other really cool game, and it's called Blind Cricket. So people that know about blind cricket, you've got a ball with some bells in it, and that rattles away down the cricket pitch, and you whack it with your bat, and off it goes into the sunset. Well, there's actually a version of that by the same guys that produced this audio games application, and it just works really nicely. So the ball can come from the front of you, the left of you, the right, and of course, as you time your bat to hit the ball, you can score 1, 2, 4, or if you do really well, a 6. If he does block, you get 1 point. and it works really nicely. So that's just called Blind Cricket. And like I said, I'm pretty sure it's available on both platforms, but it's definitely available on iOS. As far as games are concerned on the console system, such as the Xbox or the PlayStation, whilst Narrator, which is the built-in screen reader for the Xbox, works okay to navigate, they still haven't quite got there yet for gameplay. So they talk about people that can memorize where characters are or what's happening on the screen through memory or audio cues and that sort of stuff. But there's no such thing as a completely accessible audio game if you're blind. For low vision, it's different. It's not too bad. If you want games for Mac, as I mentioned, there's AppleVis. For Windows, you can check out the Windows 10 App Store. And of course, you can also access OS games. But there was also a project game that Microsoft brought out last year called Air Hockey. And that's AIR, Air Hockey. And it was a prototype for them to prove that you could play a game in multiple ways. You can access it via a Switch, a mouse, or the keyboard. And it's just a very fun, basic air hockey game, and it's free. And you can find it on the Windows 10 App Store. If you just go to Windows 10 App Store, type in Air Hockey, then you'll find it. And of course, it's quite well done. I just wish, though, I wish they would have brought it out for the Xbox, because it would have been cool doing that with the Xbox controller. But sadly, it's only on the Windows system. So that's all the game sources I know. So as I mentioned, there's appleviz.com, there's audiogames.net, there's inclusiveandroid.com, there's the Windows 10 App Store, the RS Games website. And if you type in the word blind in the Mac App Store on your Mac, there's a few games that will come up. There's one called Change Reaction, where you have to sort of put all these coins in stacks. There's also a really cool one called the Silver Dollar Saloon, which again has got multiple games inside of it. There's a what's it called? A poker game, and there's a fight one. But my favorite one is called Gunfighter or Gunsling or something like that. And you've basically got somebody, sort of the computer, throwing different size plates across the front of you, like a dinner plate, a butter plate, a tea saucer, and so on. And you just got to make sure that you can shoot the plate to break it, and that's how you actually get scores. And again, that works beautifully. I think it's free. If it's not, it only might be about $4 or $5 or something like that. But it's called the Silver Dollar Saloon. But like I said, if you just type in the word blind in the Mac App Store, it'll come up with both the Silver Dollar one and the Change Reaction one. There's also another game that I just remember when I was talking about these sort of multiple platform games. There's a company that produced one called Blind Wizard, and it seems to be a cross-platform as well. You can get it on the Mac App Store. You can find it for Windows, definitely iOS and Android. And that's where you are a blind warrior, and you have to protect or follow your daughter. And you go through a village. I think you go through a cave system. You've got to avoid waterfalls while staying away from all the army who's trying to chase you, or the soldiers. And it's quite a good one. So that's called I'm pretty sure it's called A Blind Legend. And that's so that's also another really good one. So I hope that's given you some ideas. Andreas, Ray, have you got any suggestions for games? I know, Ray, you're probably too busy to play games, but...
I was actually going to say that. I did the other day, I don't know, I was in the store somewhere and I popped on and I saw, Crash Team Racing. I used to play that with my kids years ago, and I started rocking Crash Team Racing on my iPad for a while until I was getting frustrated with it steering and nearly threw the thing over, and I thought, okay, that's enough of that. No, but you're right. I play Uno and a few other little bits and pieces. I did find an old school game the other day, Lemmings. And we had to kill as many lemmings off is funny. That was quite stretched back for the past. But no, you're right. I don't play a lot of games at the moment. So because my kids always thrash me, there's no point.
That's right.
We've got 1,000 PlayStations and God knows what else, and even my old games machine, I've got one that's got something like 60 games on it, like the old school Donkey Kong and Frogger and all those ones and stuff like that. So they've got onto that now. They're even beating me in my own 80s games. So I've got, give up.
Exactly. Andreas, how about you?
There's a whole bunch of games for blind and low vision users. I just pulled up a list here that I have on my phone here. There's one great app that has lots of games in it called Audio Game Hub.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, that's what I was talking about. Sorry, I just said it was called Audio Games. That's the one, yeah. Yep.
That's right. Yeah, so if you look for Audio Games Hub, that alone has a whole bunch of games. And then Blind Cricket, of course, as you mentioned earlier. And is it possible that you were talking about a Blind Legend, just that game?
That's the Blind Legend. That's it.
That's right. Yeah. And there's Blindfold Words. That's another one.
Actually, that's a good point, Andreas, too, because if you search for Blindfold in the App Store on iOS, that person, the developer, has got about 80 different games that you can access, and they're really, really cool. So search for Blindfold or just Blindfold games, and it'll come up with about 80 games on your iOS App Store.
Another one to try is Game World as well. It has a whole bunch of games on there as well, and Song Quiz is a good one too.
Oh yes, I love Song Quiz. That's great.
Great. Yeah, Song Quiz you can play against other players. You don't need to know them. It's just anonymously connects you to someone that you then battle through with songs, basically like trivia.
It plays a blast to the song, and you've got to work it out. So
that's right. Yeah,
very similar to those Buzz games that used to be on Sony, where you your Song Quiz. I'm pretty good at that, actually, especially the 80s and the 90s and the 70s stuff. But the new stuff, I have no clue.
Actually, we should mention too, if you've got a Google Home or an Amazon Echo in particular, you can also play games on the smart speakers as well. Particularly Amazon. There's actually a really good podcast called Dot to Dot by Robin Christopherson. He's actually produced 5-minute demos. He's up to, I think, 1,064 little podcasts on different skills or apps you can use on the Amazon Echo. So that's another one that you can also do on the Amazon Echo, is play all these different types of games. I found the offerings on Google Home are a little bit limited compared what the Amazon Echo actually offers.
Yeah, I did play a good trivia game the other day on the Google Home. I mean, I love that little puck. I really do. It just sits in the corner there. My wife is technology. I never use that. I think she uses it more than ever now. She's use it in the kitchen, listen to radio. I use it for recipes and a few other things like that.
Yep.
I actually I'm getting really lazy now. I actually tell it to turn my fan on in my office and turn my lights off in my office and all the other stuff like that. So the technology is brilliant. And just for general information, in the morning I've got a routine. I say I'm not going to say because all my device will go off. No. What's my day like today? And it gives me the news and it gives me the what's happening in the world and bits and pieces and stuff like that. And while you're having your cornies, it's normally you've got most of the day worked out what you're going to do. So
exactly. Actually, it's really funny. People might have been noticed. I've been having a sip of coffee every now and again out of this coffee cup, which is actually called the Ember mug. It's really funny. First, I've got a complaint now, Andreas, because we've been talking for over an hour and a half now. My coffee's finally gone cold because this only keeps it hot for about an hour. So right. I've made it about 3/4 of the way down the mug, and it was still hot, and now it's gone all cold. So
I thought that was the one that keeps the temperature and lets you know when it gives you a page on your phone when it runs out of time.
It did, but I was actually being very good, and I haven't been anywhere near my iPhone as we've been talking. If I could have been bothered, which I wasn't, I could have actually taken the little sort of tea saucer charger thing out of the kitchen and put it in here in the study, where I can actually then put it on there and it'll keep it hot all day. But I just thought, who knows? Surely Ray and me won't talk for 2 hours while we're out of things to talk about. I thought, hours surely good enough to keep my coffee hot. But it just ran out. But I just thought, oh well, it almost made it. So there you go. I can proudly say that's actually lasting. That's right.
Technology, wow, technology.
Indeed.
I think the game topic, I think we can make that a whole session just about games and demo games to people.
Absolutely.
is a big one by
Well, the
itself.
other thing too, not just a game, but if you want to start learning to code too, you've got Swift Playgrounds. If you wanted to actually broaden your horizons and actually learn a little bit about coding and stuff on the iPad.
Exactly. And also on the Mac now too, because they've just also released the Swift plugins on the Mac. In fact, I was jokingly talking to Andreas and Ray before we just started the webinar properly, was because I can fly my little drone now, which is called the Tello EDU drone, around the garden via programming it on Swift plugins on my iPad or the Mac. I thought, and this is all, it's not free flying. You've got to program the drone to say fly 5 meters forward, fly up 4 meters. And I thought 4 meters was high enough to get over my beautiful lemon tree in the garden yesterday. And I had to call my son in and get him to get a step ladder, because apparently 4 meters was actually at the top of the tree, not above the tree. So I had to increase the drone height to 5 meters, flying up over and across the tree. Because I just thought, if I do a podcast on boringly flying the drone backwards and forwards, it's boring. So I thought, I want to make it follow my path that I've got in stepping stones around my whole garden. I want it to fly up and over the garden shed, up and over the tree, up and over the clothesline, up and over the hedge, just so it sounded more interesting, like it was going on a bit of an adventure. So, so besides the lemon tree it got stuck in, it also got stuck on top of the shed, which I get back myself. And lucky it only got stuck in part of the hedge. So, but it was quite fun doing it for about 3 or 4 hours.
So the takeaway from this is, if you live around the Narara area and hear a buzzing noise, duck.
That's it.
We used to worry about magpies attacking us. Now we've got David Woodbridge and he's crazy.
I know, because I found if you fly it up a certain level up, there's different air currents when it's up above 5 or 6 meters. So it almost went over the neighbour's fence next door yesterday. So I thought maybe I should start reducing the height of its flying when I'm not anywhere near any trees or hedges. So that was quite fun. But Swift Playgrounds. Vision Australia's also got tactile diagrams and Braille, if you want to get into learning about coding. Because the thing about Swift Playgrounds is it's all about learning coding to code apps, as in iOS apps. So once you start to learn that, then you can transfer over to, God forbid, Xcode on the Mac for learning proper coding. But this is a way of teaching you coding. And if you've got young children that are interested in coding, there's a really good set of apps called Ballyland, Balllyland, Ballyland Code 1, 2, and 3. Which for the coronavirus period, that developers made all her apps free of charge. And they're a good way of either learning coding or other apps which are around the Ballylanders, which is like a little helicopter, ball, a car, and so on. There are also ways of teaching through gameplay on how to use voiceover as well. So they actually work quite nicely.
Yeah, a friend of mine up in Kempsey, her son's just started high school and they're actually using that in the high school curriculum. The
Ballyland, yeah. And if you also saw a bit of a launch that Vision Australia did about a month or two ago, which sort of didn't go very far because of the coronavirus hit, but it's called Code Jumper. And Code Jumper is a set of pods that you connect together. They're just basically little audio pods. And it teaches, like Ballyland does, Swift Playgrounds does, about the basics of coding. So it's about sequencing, problem solving, troubleshooting. You can even get up to where you can do if-then statements, you can do while loops, you can do variables, you can do constants, you can do all this sort of stuff. So this is through Humanware. It is fairly expensive. It's about $1,700, so it is aimed at the educational market. But it is another way of actually teaching coding. But like I said, the free Ballyland one, Swift Playgrounds, is absolutely free. Or like me, if you want to get into a bit of extra coding, like playing with robots. So I've got my Dash robot. I've also got another robot which dances called the Minibot. And of course, my drone, which is a Tello EDU drone. It's also fun as well. So if you're bored and you want to go and do something in your garden, and have a look at some drones, have a look at some Meebots, which is the robot one. They're a couple of $100. They're not too expensive. Or you just play with Swift Playgrounds and just have fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, like I said, we can make it a whole session just about games and drones and whatnot.
and gnomes.
And gnomes. Right. So let's go to our last topic. I think that one is probably a shorter one, which is staying fit while staying at home. And David, you've got quite a lot of suggestions there for us as well.
I do, and I hope Ray is wearing the first thing I'm about to talk about, because you obviously are wearing your Apple Watch, Ray.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Good man. Andreas, is he really wearing his Apple Watch?
I'm wearing mine, and I'm holding it to the Ray too. There we go.
Come on, hold it up in front of the camera so I can see it.
Yeah. Righto. Okay.
So if I, there you go. So my heart rate 5 minutes ago was 58 beats per minute. So I must be very relaxing during this webinar today.
Wow, too relaxed, I would say.
Absolutely, mate. So the really cool thing about the Apple Watch is, one, that it actually talks. Now, the downside for non-Apple people is the fact it only works with your iPhone, but it's a really great way of checking your exercises, because we've got this thing called the famous 3 rings, which is exercise, movement, and your stand, which I know some people turn off because every 50 minutes it goes, "You haven't moved for 50 minutes. Please stand up for 1 minute."
That one doesn't bother me so much. It's the one that wakes you up in the middle of the night and says, "You need to breathe."
I know, that's right.
That one got turned off straight away.
But I use the Apple Watch, particularly on my treadmill. Now, unfortunately, like us three were talking about last week, if you pop along to your favourite exercise shop, you'll probably find they don't have treadmills anymore. It might be hard even to hire one these days, but I've had my treadmill now for, maybe 8 years, which is still working really nicely. But the Apple Watch it'll do breathing exercises. It will do your heartbeat. One trick about the exercise ring is you can go for a 5-kilometer walk, which it calls movement. But if you haven't got your heartbeat above 90 beats per minute, the watch will not recognize that as you doing exercise. So if you go for a stroll, forget about your exercise for the day. You've got to get your heartbeat above 90 beats per minute.
Oh, is that why that does that? Because I've had occasionally when I've been walking around Gosford, all of a sudden it'll turn on saying, "Oh, I believe you're exercising."
That's it.
No, I'm racing to the pub for a beer.
That's it. I was about to say that.
For the people in Newcastle who know me quite well.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I thought, I'm going to make a comment.
One of my passions. You've got to have a hobby, and I'm pretty good at mine. So
that's that. It's called the 100-meter sprint to the pub.
Yes.
You can
also manually trigger the exercises as well. If you want to track your exercises, you can also manually do it. And also, you can tell Siri start outdoor walk exercise, for example, on the watch. Yep. And it will trigger it for you.
I just wish the thing you could do a series is how many steps have I done today? Because she won't tell you. She goes, you have to look it up, which I find very disappointing. So, but the Apple Watch, as far as a fitness smartwatch goes, is absolutely fantastic. For security and peace of mind, I've actually got the cellular version. So it's also got the GPS built into it and the phone. So I've, through my Telstra account, I signed up as an eSIM on the Apple Watch. So if I don't have my phone on me, I can make and receive phone calls on my Apple Watch with a Series 5. It's also got the fall protection. And the other really cool thing about the Apple Watch...
Series 4 has the fall protection too. Starts from Series 4.
Oh, good. Thanks for that. And then the Series 4 and 5 has also got the heartbeat monitoring. So if you end up having an irregular heartbeat, it'll also warn you. And you can also set the heartbeat range. So if you get above 140 beats per minute or below 40, which might be low, then you can also get the watch to notify you that you may be having an issue, and you might want to have a talk to your doctor or go to the hospital and that sort of stuff. So that actually works really well. The second one that I use before I got the Apple Watch, and I sometimes just drag it out because I just drag it out and occasionally use it, make sure it's working, is the Fitbit.
Oh, yes, I love me Fitbit.
Yep. Do you have the Fitbit Charge or the one with no screen?
No, I've got the Surge.
Excuse me.
It has a screen on it. It's white on black, which is really easy to use for low vision. I was actually using it well before I had the Apple Watch, actually. And it's a cheap alternative. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen with it now because Google's bought it out. So what's going to happen there? But it's a very cheaper variety of the Apple Watch, definitely. And you still can get notifications and things pop through on it. Unfortunately, it doesn't talk as well like VoiceOver.
No. So when you said it was black and white, so is the actual font of the characters on the screen also easy to look at?
Yes, for low vision, definitely.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
It was good because I actually could use a watch again, which was really good because I found it was, and plus the battery lasted for quite some time too. So,
I know. I mean, the good old Apple Watch is, if you're lucky, if you get like more than 24 hours out of it, whereas my Fitbit Charge 2, it'll run at least for 5 days straight.
The interesting thing too is a friend of mine, he has the Fitbit as well, and we challenge each other on how many paces we walk backwards and forwards. Now he works at Woolworths distribution centre, so he's walking along a lot more than I am.
Yeah.
So I tied mine to the back of my dog and let it run round for
sneaky Pete.
And I beat him.
Dog take wagging.
I hope he's not listening. He'll find out how I did that now.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but keep in mind, if you think about the Fitbit, if you're a low vision person, it's fine. If you're a blind person, you require talkback on Android or voiceover on the iPhone, you can link it up with the Fitbit app. And of course, that will speak out to you everything that's happening on the Fitbit itself. The really cool thing I found about the Fitbit, though, was that, particularly for one that does heartbeat monitoring, I found it, particularly when you're running on the treadmill, it's really good at picking up your heartbeat. I find with the heartbeat complication on the Apple Watch, on the watch face, unless you physically get it to refresh itself, you're not always getting your current heartbeat. Whereas the Fitbit app will definitely give you your current heartbeat. And I've always found, I don't know if you've found this too, I found the Apple Watch seems to be a lot more generous about how many steps you've done.
Yeah, it
compared
does,
to the Fitbit. Because I swear, the Apple Watch goes, "Congratulations, you've walked 10,000 steps today," and the Fitbit goes, "Well, hey, dude, you've only walked 6,500 as far as I'm concerned."
The Apple Watch gives you a lot more. You've won another badge. Hey, yeah.
One trick with the Apple Watch, or it's not a trick, it's really a calibration that you do with the Apple Watch. You're suggested to do a 20 minutes outdoor walk or run, whichever, and that will calibrate the distance, and then also through you waving the watch while walking on your wrist, basically, it will count the steps for you, and then it's calibrated. And then if you go to the treadmill, then it will be more accurate.
So that's what those sightings were in Newcastle, Andreas. Wasn't about some sighted bloke waving his watch around in the air all the time. That explains things.
I've heard in Newcastle it's quite fine to go out these days as long as you don't sit down on a park bench and have a kebab.
I know, that was amazing, wasn't it? Yeah, I know. Yes. I saw that story. The third thing that I recommend you get, and this has been another plug for the Vision Australia store, you can actually get a talking pedometer. So if you whiz over to the shop.visionaustralia.org website, you search for talking pedometer, then that will come up, and that will do your normal walks and steps and count for the day and that sort of stuff as well. So it's actually quite another method. I think it was about $100 and something as compared to, $400 to $500 for an Apple Watch, or $150 to $250 for a Fitbit. This talking pedometer does it as well. It's not, of course, it's not as good as the actual, the Fitbit or the Apple Watch, but it certainly does the trick. Also keep in mind that normally in most phones, both on Android and iPhone, they've got their own built-in pedometer anyway. So you don't necessarily need to wear a wearable on your wrist or wherever else you might stick your Fitbit. You can actually use your smartphone to also count your steps. You've just got to wear it in your pocket. And it also should count your steps as well. So it's another.
Yeah, it does. It uses the accelerometer, actually.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I think the one that I use on my iPhone particularly is called Pedometer Plus. And that's the one that syncs itself over to the Apple Watch, so it doesn't work too badly. And my Samsung phone tends to sit on its charging until somebody asks me a Samsung question, and then it normally gets used. So have a look for pedometer apps on Android as well. That inclusive android.com website will probably have some suggestions for that. But again, the Fitbit app will also run beautifully with TalkBack or Voice Assist on Samsung as well anyway. So both of them are actually quite good in that way.
So your watch can see you something like you've done 600 loops of the office today. You've been out to the garage twice back. It's just, You can set a goal for yourself how many times you can run around the lounge room before you pass out.
Yeah, it's a pity because I just wish things like the Victor Reader Trek, so the Victor Trek, which is the GPS Victor Reader Stream version from Humanware, or the other sort of external custom-y blind type devices that are handheld. I wish those would have had GPS tracking in them just to count your steps, because that would have been really cool. If you happen to have an old iPod Touch, or my goodness, an old iPod Nano or Shuffle, those ones also tended to have the pedometer also built into them as well, because they also had an accelerometer, and they were also good. So my beautiful iPod Nano, which I think was the 4th generation one, I think, right? That was the one that looked like a watch face. But you could also get a watch band for it and put it on your wrist.
Yeah, it was a tiny little one. Yeah, a lot of people used to have them around their elbow when they were running.
Yeah, it was beautiful. So I've still got mine. And if you plug in a pair of headphones to it, it also has got a built-in FM radio. So that's also very cool as well. Yeah. So that's also another one. But besides that, there was a really good website. So if you're thinking of something to do when you're at home, there's a really cool website called blindalive.com. And it has a whole series of exercise routines. So there's gentle workout, there's chair yoga, there's boot camp, there's cardio workout, and so on. And they've been designed from a lady who was completely blind herself. And she's developed all these workouts which are completely explained.
Yeah, they are fantastic. I downloaded a few the other day. The yoga one I use a lot, just sitting in the chair. It's designed to just sit around in the chair to do exercising.
Exactly.
I believe it was part of an app originally. You used to have to purchase these, but now they're for free.
Exactly. Yeah, because I'm a bit of a first person, out there buying everything new all the time. Apparently, each of those workouts, I think they were about like $20 to $30.
Yeah. That's what kind of turned me off them a bit at first, because they're quite expensive.
Yeah, I sort of accidentally went and bought the whole lot.
Yes.
Yeah, as I do. But yeah, they're all free. They're just straight MP3 files, so you can download them, listen to them on your Braille Sense Polaris, your Braille Sense U2, your Braille Note Touch, your Envoy Connect, your Victor Reader Stream, your Windows PC, your Mac, anywhere you can play an MP3 file, even on your iPhone or Android device. You can almost stick them into a playlist and listen to them. So they're actually really good. I've got like I said, I've got all of them, but I tend to use the stretching one, the yoga one, and the gentle workout one. I haven't got to the boot camp one. I listened to about the first.
No, I was going to try that, but I thought, no, I might slowly get up to exercise first. Yeah. I've got the bike and stuff first to do.
Exactly. So. Correct. Yeah. So blindalive.com is a really good resource. And like I said, you can just download them. They're in zip files. So you download like the gentle workout one. I think when you unzip it, you might get about 10 or 11 MP3 files, and off you go. So it's a really good resource. There's a really cool app on the iPhone and Android as well called Zombies Run. And as the name implies, when you start up the app, you're on a mission. So this is sort of the apocalypse has happened. There's zombies everywhere. And your job is to leave your base camp and go on missions. Now, the first one is that you have to get to the base camp. And of course, the helicopter crashes. And then you've got to run from the helicopter to the base camp. And with all these missions, you have to run away from the zombies. So the slower you walk or run, the faster the zombies will actually get you in the end. And
is this the one you use for your treadmill, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're designated runner 5. So, runner 5, your mission today is to go out and collect medical kits for the base camp. And actually, the nice thing about it is that you can specify whether you're running or walking, I believe, or it even might just work out that you just because it's on your smartphone. Because I found it's sort of the same if you both run and walk, as long as you're moving to some extent, it's fine. And of course, you pick up everything and again. Let's just say you've just picked up a bottle of water, you've just picked up a medical kit, and all that sort of stuff. So it's a really fun run. And the zombies moan and groan, which zombies obviously do in the background, and it's a really, really good one. So Zombies Run is the app name, and it's a good one. There's one called Treadmill Workout, but you've got this lady that keeps going, faster, faster, faster. We're now on to level 7. You should be going at least 5K an hour now, and I just find that one's a bit overkill. But Zombies Run certainly works very nicely indeed. So I think that's most of...
Just a question with the Zombies Run, David. Does it calibrate to your speed, or are the slower ones
No, it calibrates to your speed. Yeah. So when you have to go on a 5 kilometer actually mission, it literally is 5 kilometers. You have to walk 5 kilometers. So of course, the faster you do it, i.e. walking faster, jogging or running, the faster you get through the mission, but it's actually based on the like a pedometer setting.
Right.
So the faster you walk or run, the faster you get through each mission. And I think there's about 22 missions altogether. But it's just a fun one. So rather than sitting there and listening to a podcast on your Aftershocks bone conduction headphones or your AirPods or your Bose frames because you want to look cool with your sunglasses with the audio going into your ears, you can listen to podcasts, audio books, or you can just have fun running away from the zombies. So that actually works really nicely.
Love my Aftershocks. Best thing I ever bought.
Yeah. Actually, Andres, have we showed people what the Aftershocks look like at all? Any your tech?
At the Newcastle Tech Fridays, yes, we have. Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So they're simply ones that just go over your ears. The bone conduction pads just sit on the front of your cheekbones, and then they transmit the audio through your ears. I just find if you've got a cold, they can irritate your inner ear a bit.
Yeah.
But I absolutely.
I've actually got them in front. I've actually got them on camera right now.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
So you put them on. Who are we? We're back again. Here we go. Put them on like that, and they sit just behind the back of your ears.
Yep.
And fantastic. Sounds not real good for music and stuff. Like if you want to play heavy rock or something, and they tend to jump around and bounce around a bit and shake you a bit. But for audio books and stuff like that, they're fantastic, especially if you're using navigation software like I do with Soundscape and things like that. Hey, your bus stop's coming up. There's a great one called Move It app that I use. When I'm on the bus, it actually follows the bus along and actually says your stop's coming up, and it tells you get prepared, when you get off the bus and it's ready to go. And I think that's really easy to use.
Yeah. Or just fine because I know we're running out of time, or we have run out of time. If you're looking at or thinking about the AirPods Pro, not just the straight AirPods, but the AirPods Pro with a little in-ear fitting, the noise transparency option where you can actually listen to what's around you plus getting the music or the audiobooks in your ear work really nicely. So similar to the Aftershocks, the fact that you can hear, but you can also listen to the music as well, listen to surrounding sounds, or if you're on a very noisy train, you can turn the sorry, I was talking about the transparency mode just then, where you can turn noise reduction on and it really decreases all the high-pitched sounds in your environment. So it actually works really nicely as well. So I think, Andreas, we've officially run out of time.
Yes, well done. We filled 2 hours. That was a great success, I think. Initially, we thought we might be below that, but there was plenty of rambling going on. So
we don't ramble. Sorry, we waffle.
We had concise information discussion. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much to the participants as well that joined in today, and thank you to David and Ray. Just one thing that I want to say before leaving you today. If you require any support, any training, any assistance from access technology specialists like myself, get in touch with us. And I might just repeat our Newcastle Hunter Central Coast phone number that you can call, which is 4927 3300. I repeat that again, 4927 3300. And in other areas across the nation, you can also call our national number, which is 1300 847466. That's 1300 847466. And we can provide you with all sorts of services from occupational therapy to speech pathology for the kids and technology setup and training with myself. And we also have the Vision Australia Help Desk, Access Technology Help Desk available. That's also the national number, 1300 847466. And they can help you set up Zoom, for example, as well, if you want to join in next time again. And yeah. David, where can people find you if they want to talk to you?
That's right. I was also going to say, I might also mention the two other help desks that you can also access to outside of Vision Australia hours. So you've also got the Apple Accessibility Help Desk, which is for any person with a disability for Apple. And that's 1300 365 083, 1300 365 083, or the Microsoft Disability Support Desk. And that's 1-800 1-800-280-300. Or remember, you've also got those video assistant services. So you've got Aira, which is AIRA, that you can use on your smartphone, iOS or Android, and also the free Be My Eyes app. So remember on Aira, if you use their service less than 5 minutes, or you happen to be using a Vispero or Freedom Scientific product like Zoom, Zoom Fusion, or JAWS, you can use it up to 30 minutes for free, or below 5 minutes for free. Or you've got the Be My Eyes app, which is free all the time, where you talk to a volunteer. And on that Be My Eyes app, if you look under specialists or special services, you'll also see the Google Home help desk as well as Microsoft. As far as contacting myself, you can email me, which I always talk about on my Talking Tech program, david.woodbridge, how it sounds, at visionaustralia.org. You can follow me on Twitter at dwoodbridge, which I'm always twittering stuff all the time. And if you want to look at my 3 podcasts that I do, there's talkingtech.podbean.com. There's my personal podcast, which is called I See, various technologies from a blind person's perspective, and that's David Woodbridge, DavidWoodbr, David Woodbr at podbean.com, or the unofficial official podcast from the Vision Store, which is called VA Cast, Vision Australia Cast.podbean.com. So they're probably the main ways. Don't try and call me at Vision Australia, because you'll get to rid of my mobile, and my mobile will say the best way to contact David Woodbridge is via email, Twitter, etc. So that's probably the best way to get in contact with me. Andreas, you've covered you. Ray, did you want people to be able to contact you at all?
Yeah, I'm readily available at Rayron Internet Services, or ray@rayron.com.au.
That almost sounds like a Harry Potter thing, doesn't it? Rayron.
It's actually Ray and Rhonda, actually, for my wife and my name, so we get it Rayron.
Because remember in Harry Potter, when Ron had his girlfriend, whoever's name, when she called him One?
Oh, yes.
That just I don't know why that popped into my mind, but anyway, that's a bit of random information.
Who knows what things pop into your
I
head.
was about to say, there we go again.
That's it. Stop.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining in. Thank you, David and Ray, again, for participating here. And we talk to you soon again.
My pleasure.
No worries. Thank you. See you later, everyone. Very hi to all my friends up there at Newcastle. I catch up with Rod and Mick and everybody else. So there you go, if you're listening.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, guys. See you later.